Hey everybody, I am here to explain a year of ownership on Ninian, the Mark 5 Volkswagen GTI that I picked up in June of 2018. I've done a lot of driving, I've done a lot of repairs, and I have some things to say. The three takeaways that I personally have experienced while owning this car have been my cure to the German reliability syndrome, learning how to properly wrench on a car, and realizing that I'm a way more conservative driver than I thought I was. Now, the first thing was the reliability. I had never owned a German car. I had always seen my parents growing up with Toyotas and Hondas and the occasional Ford here and then. And I had never really dipped my toes into this world of automobiles, so I decided to take the leap. I grew up in an environment where people weren't necessarily saying that Volkswagens were the most reliable cars of all time. And when I initially picked this up, I think I was overly concerned and possibly performed a repair or two that might not have been required. But because of that, it helped me learn a lot and expose myself to how German cars are engineered differently than maybe cars from other countries like Japan and the United States. With the way this car is built, things are a little bit tight under the engine bay. So it gave me a lot of experience as to performing things properly or to the manual specifications. Now, in the video where I first introduced this car, I identified two issues that I believe may have needed immediate attention the second I bought it. And that was the cam follower, which is an identified common issue on the Mark 5 VW GTI, and the timing belt, which I believe was still the original at the time. So it had aged almost 12 years old, so I didn't know the condition. So because of that, I wanted to go ahead and take a look at it and possibly replace it. Now, that's something I had never done before successfully. I attempted that a couple of times on a 2000 Toyota Camry that was rusted here and back, and it did not work out too well, especially when removing the crank bolt. That's where I gave up. This car taught me that a crank pulley can be fastened with 6 bolts instead of a single large one, and this car has not had practically any rust that I can find on it. So it made removing that part very easy. However, there were other challenges. You can check out all of my vlogs to see all the challenges. Once I got past the timing belt repair, a lot of the other things that I took a look at were nowhere near as difficult as that repair was. The other common issue that occurs in this generation of GTI is the cam follower. Thankfully, I think it had just worn through, and it may have been the original. Checking the cam lobe and the spring itself, they didn't look too bad. After those two repairs, I started to notice a couple of other things as I was driving the car. First thing would be on a cold start, I'd get a pretty decently loud rattle. Now granted, I'm starting the car in the garage most of the time, so a lot of sounds are more amplified than they normally would be. Thankfully, the internet has documented this issue relatively well, and the specific rattle sound that I'm getting, I believe may be associated with the dual mass flywheel in the DSG transmission. Now, repairing that would be a challenge that is possibly greater than that timing belt repair. I might try to take it on myself, and if I do, I will try to make as many videos about it as possible. The other noise I noticed was when the car is fully warmed up in an operating temperature, which is kind of a rhythmic groaning kind of sound. And I initially thought that that was what the timing belt was causing. After replacing the timing belt and driving it around more, the issue persisted. After using my eyes and ears and hands for a little bit with the engine fully warmed up and the hood open, I identified an AC line that was causing the noise. Prior to me purchasing this car, the AC compressor had been replaced, which possibly means that they had to recharge the AC system. The AC still works really well in this car, so I haven't really flagged it as a major issue. I still haven't repaired it yet, but I'm considering looking into it. I've never touched an AC system on a car in my life, so if I end up working on that issue, I will definitely document it. But aside from all of those concerns that I had, the car continues to start up every time I crank the engine, with a little bit of a hesitation. And now we're going to move on to the exterior after a year. Obviously I just washed it, but and that's a fly, not that. But after owning this car for a year, I've noticed the bodily flaws that it had that I didn't notice before I bought it. So the door panels here just have some slight denting, probably from someone opening it and hitting a random object. It is definitely worse on this side though. You can kind of see there's a couple marks here. And obviously on the most outer part of the door, this is worn out a little bit. So you can get a new door panel, but I don't think I'm gonna risk it. This car is old enough to where I don't really have too many concerns about bodily image, so to speak. But the paint is still holding up super nice. And as far as styling goes, I'm still a big fan of it. I actually think I was less of a fan when I first bought the car. And then I've actually warmed up to it more as I've continued to drive it and, you know, seeing it at all kinds of different angles. It's honestly way prettier than a lot of people give it credit for. A lot of people, I think, ding on the Mark V and don't think it's as attractive as some other generations. But honestly, I have really grown to love it the more I drive it and look back at it as I go to Target to get groceries. And now we're going to move on to the interior, and we might as well start with the most important feature, the hatch, which currently is about to have groceries in it. I have taken it on a few road trips. I believe I may have a couple of photos from those. And it has held stuff for a family of 4 with no problem. This is the RCD 330G Plus, quote unquote. People are calling it the RCD 340. I don't really care what you call it. It's a pretty great radio. Now, I've had a couple of issues with it. Specifically in Google Maps, it will freeze up after 5 minutes or so on certain drives. I haven't really figured out why it continues to freeze, but the plan is to take a look at it and possibly update the firmware on it. Everything has held up super well. The build quality is crazy. I can't wait to get rid of this worn out shift boot cover here and get something in there that's a little bit more aesthetically pleasing and doesn't look like a dog went and ripped it up. Clearly, most people purchase cars like this to its competition because of the sheer amount of interior quality that Volkswagen and Audi have when it comes to cars like this. So how do I feel when I drive this car? I feel free. Honestly, it's still as fun to drive as the day I bought it. I would definitely say that this car has taught me what spirited driving really is, and how to drive connected to the vehicle without being aggressive to other drivers. How to pay attention while I'm driving instead of being distracted. It provides, I think, just enough power for a car that weighs this much. And honestly, I don't think I need any more for quite a while. My plans after this year of ownership are going to possibly be performing some modifications, but don't think I'm going to be doing anything too heavy, strictly because this car is still as pristine as it possibly can be for its age. This car has taught me that I can buy any car I want and find a way to keep it running. If you guys want to see any of the other videos I've made on Ninian here, you can check out the playlist in the upper top right hand corner. Upper top right hand corner. Upper top right hand corner. And that's that, boy. You guys have a good one, and I will see you all in future videos. So long.